All right, welcome to another interesting time on radio. It's Let's Talk Nigeria on 97.5 Golding FM Yenagua. We are the gold standard of radio. I am Moye Steven.
And I am Paul Bassa.
This morning we have an interesting topic, a controversial one at that. It's entitled The Race for PhD Degrees in Nigeria. A sense of bastardization? Yes, the race for PhD degrees in Nigeria. Now, I know a lot of you will be smiling. Some person will be smiling. Okay. What is in the offing? Well, in recent years, the value and prestige traditionally associated with the Doctor of Philosophy PhD degree in Nigeria have come under scrutiny. Once regarded as the pinnacle of academic achievement, the PhD has increasingly become a status symbol, commodified, and pursued more for its social and political capital than for genuine scholarly advancement. This trend has led to what can only be described as the bastardization of the degree. A growing number of individuals now obtain PhDs not out of a passion for research or knowledge creation, but to secure promotions, political appointments, or public admiration. Now, this has fostered an unhealthy obsession with titles. Doctor is often flaunted even when the intellectual output of its bearer is questionable. Consequently, many institutions are churning out PhD holders with little emphasis on academic rigor or research contribution.
The proliferation of low-quality doctoral programs, lack of proper supervision, plagiarism, and academic inbreeding has further eroded the credibility of the degree. Some universities admit students and award PhDs based on patronage or internal connections rather than merit. Worse still, some so-called scholars purchase degrees from dubious institutions, both locally and abroad, adding to the rot. Moreover, the system rewards paper qualifications over practical competence. In many government and academic settings, a PhD is a passport to power and prestige, regardless of the holder's real contribution to knowledge or society. This misplaced priority has led to a culture where intellectual integrity is sacrificed on the altar of ambition.
Now, to restore the dignity of the PhD in Nigeria, academic institutions must enforce strict standards, promote research integrity, and value competence over credentials. Without reform, the PhD risks becoming just another title, empty, overused, and ultimately meaningless. Well, to give this conversation more perspective is Mr. Sunday Akpore. Good morning, and thanks for joining us on Let's Talk Nigeria.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get started with this very interesting topic. Well, can you briefly explain what a PhD represents in academia and why it's traditionally considered prestigious?
The PhD that we have today actually has gone through lots of processes before it gets to the standard form we have it. In Europe, starting from the 9th, 10th, 11th century, there were different forms of degrees conferred on people to show the level to which they have studied. The modern PhD actually started taking form somewhere around Germany. And the aim specifically was to produce a crop of people who could generate theories, become researchers in specific fields, and also be able to transmit that new knowledge to others. And that was why in the 19th centuries, people in the US were traveling to Germany to acquire PhD so that they will come to the United States and transmit that knowledge to their people. Take, for instance, areas such as nuclear physics, quantum mechanics, and so on. Some of the Americans who traveled to Germany already had higher degrees, but that knowledge was lacking in the US. So they had to go to Germany to acquire it. So today, the PhD maintains that status, that it is aimed to develop people who can propound theories. And when we say theory, we are talking about something people have probably not, thought of before. So you are coming up to generate new knowledge. That's why they call it original research. And also, you are being trained to become a researcher. Now, when we talk about researcher, we are talking about somebody who takes time to be digging deep into a specific area. That makes you a researcher. These people mostly work in research institutions or universities. Yeah, the university involves both teaching and research. And then lastly, the PhD makes the person to be a transmitter of knowledge. So this class of people maintain a prestigious status because of what they do. It is clear, it is specific, and it is very, very special, especially to the country where they find themselves, because they are creating things that are not there before.
Okay, now bring it now to their country, Nigeria. When we're talking about the PhD, people always say, because education is a leading out of inborn and innate potentialities of a person that makes him useful to society at large. How has the PhD been devalued in the Nigerian context? In what ways?
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, let me make something clear. We are not here judging those who possess
Not
PhD.
at all. Not at
No.
all.
No,
Not
for the
at
sake
all.
of our audience.
Yes.
I want
Yes.
our audience to know we are not judging
Yes.
those who have earned a PhD because, one, they were supervised either by one or two professors.
True.
They defended their PhD before professors who are experts in related fields. And the university senate conferred, an accredited university, the senate conferred the PhD on them, believing that these people are worthy.
Yeah.
So we'll accept it so, that these people merited it. Notwithstanding, when we look at two things surrounding the conferment of PhD or the acquisition of PhD in Nigeria, it gives us a reason to be concerned. One, the class of people who are now becoming the dominant possessors of this PhD. Most of these people, or some of these people, are in the political class. From some few years back, we've been seeing the number of politicians who are now bagging the PhDs. What they want it for, well, it is left for them. And then the ease, the second one is the ease at which people who occupy full-time jobs are earning PhDs. If you go online to check what is the duration of PhD, you see between 3 to 8 years. Even in the brochure of schools, they say the PhD can run from 6 semesters to 12 semesters because it can take that long. Now imagine someone who occupies an elected office maybe in Abuja and then pursuing a PhD down south. Or somebody who occupies an elected office in Delta State and pursuing a PhD in Abia State. You are elected, you are supposed to be in an office on full-time basis. There's no part-time elected or appointed office in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So when an elected or a politically appointed person is pursuing a PhD, the person is actually pursuing two full-time activities at the same time. Then you have someone who is in the civil service also pursuing a PhD. We know those in the academia, if they apply for PhD, they'll be encouraged and they'll be given study leave.
True.
So whenever they are leaving, it is understood. But you have a civil servant going for PhD, unless the person is given study leave. Else, how is that person able to combine leaving your work that is Monday to Friday to another state to run a PhD? So when you look at these two things, the class of people who are bagging the PhD now and the ease at which people who occupy full-time positions are earning it, it gives us cause of concern that this may have made the PhD to be easy to acquire. So anybody who probably has, these people, they have money in a way.
Yeah.
You are a top civil servant, you are a political appointee, you have access to money that may not be available to others. So it may appear as if once you have money, then it will be easy for you to pursue PhD.
You see.
That may be the impression. Once you have money, it may be easy for you to pursue and acquire your PhD.
But because it's cost is highly cost related in everything.
Yes.
Very, very.
The PhD is expensive to acquire.
Okay.
Cost effective. The civil servants, especially, like you said, full time, and you see quite a number of them. And I hear someone said that if both of you are in the same level or something, and they want to consider and not for a particular position, they will not look at your qualifications. Probably if you have a PhD, you might just be given the opportunity to occupy that position, regardless of the fact that both of you are on the same level. Sometimes they do not use that, and that's why many civil servants are forced to go, acquire it. Perhaps there might be some advantage over the others who do not have it, but in so doing, some are saying that, okay, you are just a civil servant, you are not even a researcher, because that's supposed to be a research degree, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Now, there is a misconception somewhere along the line when we use the word PhD that needs to be cleared. PhD is a doctoral degree, but it is not the only doctoral degree. There are other doctorates, and I think that will be a challenge to the Nigerian universities. If you are in the academia, you definitely need to have a PhD. Why? A PhD means that you have acquired researchable knowledge. You have conducted original research in a particular field where you are going to teach or research. Now, if you are working in the title, position, chieftaincy confers power on people. If you have a particular title or you occupy a particular position, it gives you some edge over others. So that one is there. Nobody can remove that. Even within the academia, people still want to acquire more. But now when it comes to the society, it is how people are treated. You go to a social function and people are being introduced. Now we have people that they call hype men. And they sing your praise. They say a lot of things about you, that you are this, you are that, and so on. Now, if you happen to be there and maybe you are that type of person who is very competitive in nature, others are introduced with titles and you are not introduced with titles, you may want to think of, I need something to, boost my prestige. So that is how our society has become. Right from the cultural aspect, go to the religious aspect, go to whatever sector, you see people going with long retenue of titles. Now, some of these titles become redundant. So even when you are called by them, it may not really matter much. There was a time they say people pay to acquire chieftaincy.
Yeah.
And then when you go out of the country, you become either a JP, Jerusalem Pilgrim, or an Alhaji in the context of the Muslim. But these are titles that almost anyone can acquire because they are quite easy, maybe with 50,000 naira and so on. But the PhD is one that requires rigor. You don't just acquire it, so to say, because you have the money.
Yeah.
You acquire it because you commit minimum of 3 years, and then you tax your brain to do something that it is assumed others have not done. So that when you come out and you are called Dr. This, all eyes will focus on you, that this person must have done something.
No,
it's not something anybody can just because I have money acquire in the real sense. So everybody wants to be unique. And therefore, that could be the reason some people are now going towards that direction. Because if you call, let us take for instance a politician, you call the person honorable. We have tens of thousands of honorables in Nigeria now from 1999 to date. We have produced a lot of them. But among the politicians, how many PhD holders do we have? Maybe 10 years ago. Quite few. So that could be one of the reasons this thing is happening. Then in the civil service as well, almost everybody in the civil service is either Mr. or Mrs.
Yeah.
But now you have somebody in the ministry who is not doctor. It creates a difference in that environment. So the perception of the society, how the society looks at people who have special qualification or titles which others do not have, may be one of the driving factors. Another one could be fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of tomorrow. Uncertainty reigns in Nigeria. Still, let me go back to the political aspect. I'll still move to other area. The duration one may be a politician and earn money from it is uncertain. Once the party changes, you may no longer be relevant. Even within the same party, another person may come on board, you may no longer be relevant. So the PhD, acquiring the academic PhD may look like a backup. Once my political career ends, I may find my way into the academia and then continue living there. That may be another reason.
Interesting.
Wow. So what role do you think Nigerian universities play in enabling or preventing the dilution of the PhD degree or of PhD standards?
Let us start with the government. By 1999, there were quite few federal universities, including state and public universities. There were few of them. And I think by then there might be enough PhD holders to staff these universities. But from the moment the government starts establishing universities without formulating the right policies, when you put the cart before the horse, you create a situation where there will be demand to fill those gaps. So when the government starts establishing universities everywhere, there will be the need to fill them up with senior lecturers, mostly the PhD holders and so on. So that may have created a loophole to be filled. So if a new university is established, after some years, they want to open and establish new departments, but they still have gaps in terms of manpower. They may make it easy for their own students to get their masters and then get their PhD to fill those positions. That is one area, because the government has created a situation that has allowed a gap which needs to be filled. Then state universities, the state government sometimes establish universities and they don't want to, fill the vacancies with non-indigens. So they want to employ their own people. And this is a university owned by the state. So sometimes these universities may make it easy to produce more graduate PhD holders to fill those positions. However, the universities themselves have a hand in it. Take, for instance, the requirement to be admitted for PhDs. When you go through the brochure of some schools, it is clearly indicated that a PhD candidate will attend conference and even publish. I can tell you authoritatively that some of them don't do those things. They don't attend any conference in the course of their PhD work, and they don't publish. And at the end, they'll be granted their PhD. That I know. So you see, removing those two things have watered it and made it easy for somebody who is somewhere else and has enrolled for the PhD to just attend class, write exam, get their dissertation defended, and then earn the PhD. So that in that area, the universities also made it easy for people to earn their PhD.
Wow. Just thinking about earning and the things that you're mentioning, we're opening now. It looks like a box, and we're opening a Pandora box, and different things are just unfolding before our very eyes. Now, something also comes to mind, because you're talking about research, and if you're doing research, you're not supposed to get to be known for copying anything, or that some persons are used to doing that copy and paste thing, the plagiarism and everything. How, have you encountered any of those such things, in your time? Are they saying how, low quality citations and things, you just pinpoint and just find out, because you're supposed to come out with the original, and the person is supposed to earn it to really get that. But have you found these things play out in different areas?
Directly, no. I've not taken anyone's research to sit down and scrutinize.
Okay.
However, about 3 Nigerians have written about it, and they cited direct cases.
Wow.
Yes. Where PhDs were doctored. They call them syndicated. They outsource this work to syndicates who write everything. It's not a case of the candidate copying and pasting.
Okay.
It's a case of the candidate being somewhere else and then outsource the work to people who will produce the dissertation for him or her, handed it over to him, and then the person will study it, familiarize themselves with it before they will go and present it. 3 Nigerian academics have written about it, and they posted it there for everyone to see. One was published even in a daily, in an online newspaper.
Wow.
that look at what is happening. Then the other one cited a case where his doctoral work was used as a presentation by another academic in a conference, and he was there.
Wow.
Hearing somebody reading his own doctoral work
Word
as
for
his own
word.
presentation. And he met the person and said, no, this is my work. And I think he reported it to the institution that person belongs to. So these are things that I read them just last year. I think 2 of them I read last year. The other one was about 3 years ago. So it is there that people outsource their work. And sometimes when you walk in the corridors of some universities, which I have done, you will see posters advertising for those who want to get their work done. It is not hidden.
It's not hidden. As I know you have a lot of questions, but I just want to share an experience, all right?
Yeah.
In my sojourn in the United Kingdom, at Swansea University, when we are very close to, writing our dissertation, the department called all of us, each student. I was most shocked. Just invite you via email to come to the department for interview, and they said a few persons have been, at the time, had been, let's say, invited for this same thing you just narrated, and they were Nigerians. Now, I'm a Nigerian, and they were my course mates.
Of time to evolve and become like part of their culture, their way of doing things, their way of thinking. That if one is to outsource a work and others hear about it, it will sound somehow. So people don't want to do it. Not that they don't do it. At least some few years ago in the US, some athletes or prominent entertainers were caught influencing admission of their children to prestigious, Ivy League universities in the US. So these things happen there. They also outsourced. However, it is something that they frown at seriously and they take pain to root out when they discover it. In our case here, the university education has not been allowed to take root, to be a real, the higher university, the higher education has not really percolated into our way of doing things so that it will exist and operate independently of political interference, so that it will focus on its purpose. If the university wants to change ways of thinking, it should be allowed to do so. But where the society does not give the university that hand, the university will mirror the society. People pass through, especially the post-secondary institution, they're supposed to come out with changed way of thinking.
True.
But when it is garbage in, garbage out, what you find there in the society is what you find in the university. And also, the recruitment process into the university will not allow the university to produce graduate in the real sense of graduate, people who are refined in their thinking. Why do I say so? Sometimes people are recruited on the basis of ethnicity, even in federal universities.
Catchment area, that kind of thing?
Yes, catchment area.
Yeah,
if you go to universities in the southeast, I'm talking about federal university, about 70% of the academics will be from that southeast, and majority of them will be from the state that university is situated.
True.
You go to the southwest, you find the same thing playing out, where 70% of the academics will be from that region, and then majority of them will be from the state. Now, it has even gone to the point of VC. I was interacting with someone, an academic, in one of the universities in the South, and they said, successively, the 3 VCs are not just from that state. It is a state that has probably up to 5 ethnic groups, but from one of the ethnic groups, the successive 3 VCs. And she told me, because she was from that ethnic group and they approached her, so she declined that she's not going to be part of those things. They said it is their turn to dominate the VC-ship. It is their turn. And they are going to retain it for as long as they have someone there among the professors. That is how bad it has gotten. So when you have such a situation, how do you expect that university to produce, people that will say yes, they are product of university? So those things affect.
No. All right, so let's open the phone line. We don't know if you have anything to offer or to contribute to this conversation. In case you just tuned in, we are discussing the race for PhD degrees in Nigeria. A lot of people think it's been bastardized, and some say, well, it's none of your business. As long as you go, you have the money to go, for and get a PhD, do a research. That is none of your business. But what do you think? What is your own perspective about this particular topic? The numbers are 0707 747 1522, 0912 000 1975. You can send a text to 0805 327 7767. Go on Facebook. We're streaming live right now. Drop your comments. We'll read out your comments as well. Let's take the first caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Your name, please.
I'm Joseph, calling from Emelingi Road.
Joseph, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate your guest. Greetings, sir.
Thank you.
I think your analyses are very sincere and convincing. With these revelations, I think these are the reasons why this country is not moving forward in terms of development, inventions. That's almost.
Oh, thank you very much. My colleague said you have scattered the table. Oh my goodness! All right. I mean, you want to react to it, but you react to this after this call. I think let's take this calls first. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Comrade Emmanuel. I'm calling from Amarata.
Okay, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, I think that this race for almost everybody wanting to bag a PhD, it's not really the fault of the people who are in pursuit of it. It's the system. When the priorities of a country are not right, when they are wrong, these are the results. Most of us, even just going to university too, there are a lot of people who do not have any business going to the university because they see that the society glamorize these things. I have a PhD and all that. That's why people do this. A lot of people, just like in politics, a lot of us don't have any business because of. So if we get our priorities right, these things will on their own naturally go away. Just like some people are saying in the studio. I used to know somebody, he said he has master's degree in a civil engineering. But of course all of them are not bad now. But some of them they just get this thing because of what I just said. So if get the priorities right, if ordinary something that a mechanic would do, instead of you to get a mechanic, you're thinking of what degree you can afford the result. That's why people get these things, even though they don't know it, even though they don't need it, but just because the society glamorize these things, we go for them. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, thanks so much for your contribution. Yeah, you can now respond to that before we take the next call.
Okay, the first caller. Let me just clear something that we have had a lot of time about university graduates not being able to solve certain technical problems. University education primarily equips person with principles of how things should work or how things should be developed.
Okay.
They are not
practical.
It has a limited amount of practical, maybe 30%.
That's why we have the polytechnics or something.
Yes.
Okay.
Why the polytechnic attends to endowing students with practical skills.
Okay, just hold on that thought. Let's take this call now. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thanks for joining us, sir. Your name?
Yeah, this is Mr. Bright SK Ondun. I'm calling from Obele.
Okay, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, a very special greeting to your guest there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Please, I want to start by joining the last caller to say that when you are in a country where the priorities are not in order, this is where we always find ourselves. You can see that these situations are foundational situations. There is this saying that when the head is bent, the tail is also bent. Okay. Since the leaders, right from the inception of the existence of this nation, okay, and are only concerned on how to make money, enrich themselves and their children, what do you expect? You can see that most of our dealings are fake. Talking about the schools, you can see that our education is only on theory. It's only on theory basis, okay? Just like one of the callers said, a mechanical engineer, who have a spoiled generator, and he will call roadside mechanical engineer to come and take care of it, which is bad. Some of these persons, can dismantle the generator and they will not be able to couple it back. But it's an engineer graduated from a university. You can see that our education is fake. It's just a theoretical education that we have. You see, it's a theoretical education. But I haven't said that. Let me add this. You can see that even the people who read business administration, they can't do business. They don't know what is called business. Now, there is another course that is carved out, which is called entrepreneurship. They don't have anything to entrepreneur. You can see everybody's running into the political space because our leaders got it wrong. Our leaders got it wrong. And this is as a result of Nigerian dependency on certificates. We are too dependent on this so-called certificate. When you go to the developed nations, of course, they don't care who is inventing something. It's not about you going to finish university. They even employ you based on what you can do. Why is it that this practical level of education is not here? Whatever knowledge we are going to the university to acquire, it's so much knowledge. Perhaps that person didn't even go to university and got it. The person had to make research and know how to do a particular thing, and this information has been documented for us to go and read the university. So while we are dealing with the theory, we are supposed to also go into the practical to be able to come out perfect. But look at professors in mechanical engineering. We can't engineer anything. What are we really producing?
This is your golden moment. 97.5 Golden FM, the gold standard of radio.
Now, this is a government service announcement. The Establishment, Training and Pensions Bureau, Office of the Head of Service, has commenced registration for the compulsory confirmation and promotion examinations for civil servants. Affected civil servants, including newly employed, are to register for the revision classes before the 30th May 2025 at the Department of Training, Office of the Head of Service, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. weekdays. Now, please note there will be no extension of date as revision classes commence immediately thereafter. This is signed by Yela Joseph Alagua, Permanent Secretary, Establishment, Training and Pensions Bureau.
So we are supposed to be feeling the pulse because these people are supposed to be giving us, churning out solutions. But as we have not seen it now, what way can we also get to do to really get to demand from them, like, okay, you are doing these things. Can we have results in these ways? Because everybody's thinking about solutions.
Okay. Let me answer it in two ways.
Yeah.
One, we will not get much from these people because the degree, the PhDs, they are going to acquire, or they are acquiring, is not intended for the purpose of generating knowledge.
So now the intention
It is,
of it
it is basically an appendage, a kind of a social status.
wow.
Why do I say so? These people are already engaged in places where that knowledge may not contribute to what they are doing there.
Exactly.
You are you are a politician, you have been a career politician, you spend years there, and then you go and acquire a PhD in maybe business administration.
Yeah.
This is politics, not business. So you are not running a business. So it will look like an inconsistency, a contradiction if you label everywhere, yet water is life.
Yeah.
What has happened to the first degree, the bachelor's degree, where we now have roadside traders, hawkers, tailors having bachelor's degree, because it has become so common. We may end up having the same thing with the PhD. It may become so common that it will lose its relevance, where you now have a PhD driving keke, you now have a PhD working as a security guard, you now have a PhD working in the bank of a bank counter. As time goes on, it will have no relevance again, both to the academia and to the society. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunday Akpore, for coming to discuss this very, very controversial, actually. But then we've been able to learn a lot, because even the listeners too are quite impressed with your submissions this morning. And of course, to you who have listened to this program, I believe that you've also learned something a lot this morning. I am so excited that this topic has been quite educative. My name is Moya Steving.
And my name is Paul Bassa.
Make sure to stay tuned for the news update at 10. And don't go anywhere, because we are the gold standard of radio.